You are looking live at Launch Pad 6, Site 31 at the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan, where a fully fueled Soyuz 2.1A booster stands ready to launch less than 15 minutes from now to deliver almost 3 tons of cargo to the International Space Station. Good evening from Mission Control in Houston and the International Space Station Flight Control Room. This Soyuz booster, atop of it is the ISS Progress 79 cargo craft, the unpiloted cargo craft that is ready to launch into an orbit inclined 51.6 degrees to either side of the equator, and a 2-day journey to reach the International Space Station for a docking on Friday night at 8:34 p.m. Central Time to the aft port of the Zvezda service module. The Progress is loaded with, as I said, almost 3 tons of cargo. The breakdown on that cargo is 3,351 pounds of dry supplies, 1,212 pounds of propellant, 926 pounds of water, 106 pounds of air, and 28 pounds of nitrogen, for a total of 5,623 pounds being carried to the International Space Station. The Soyuz 2.1A booster rolled out from its integration building at the Baikonur Cosmodrome back on Monday. The rollout of the Progress was horizontal on its rail car. It took about 25 minutes from the integration building to reach the launch pad, where hydraulically it was lifted into its vertical position, where technicians began the process of hooking up fuel lines and power lines for the final stage of the processing that will lead to tonight's launch. The countdown clocks are ticking backward. We're just over 13 minutes until liftoff. Tonight's launch comes just 1 week after another Progress vehicle, the ISS Progress 78 cargo craft, conducted a relocation maneuver, undocking from the Poisk module on the space-facing side of the International Space Station's Russian segment, and then spending 24 hours away from the station for a redocking to the new Naoka module, where it has been for the past week, assisting with flight controllers at the Russian Mission Control Center in Korolyov as they check out the integrity of Naoka's propellant lines before the new multipurpose laboratory module begins to assume roll control or orientation control of the International Space Station. At this hour, the Expedition 66 crew on the International Space Station is asleep, led by European Space Agency astronaut Thomas Pesquet, who is the commander of the International Outpost. While all of this activity is taking place with the launch and the 2-day journey for Progress 79 to the International Space Station, down at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, 4 additional crew members are ready to begin their journey to the complex. The Crew 3 crew, as they are called, from left to right, Commander Raja Chari, pilot Thomas Marshburn, European Space Agency astronaut Matthias Maurer, and NASA astronaut Caleb Barron. They are set to lift off in the wee hours of Halloween on Sunday morning at 2:21 a.m. Eastern Time, 1:21 a.m. Central Time, aboard the Crew Dragon Endurance for their trip to the International Space Station to dock to the forward port of the Harmony module in the early morning hours of November 1st Eastern Time, late on the night of October 31st Central Time, to join the Expedition 66 crew. All of this activity taking place with the launch tonight of the Progress 79 cargo ship, vehicles coming and going from the International Outpost. But this week's activities all begin with the launch of the Progress 79 that is coming up just over 10 minutes from now. The weather in Baikonur, typical for this time of year, clear skies, temperature readings right now at 24 degrees Fahrenheit. Everything is all set. The fueling operations went by the book over the past few hours, and the Soyuz 2.1A booster is set to begin its trip. It will take 8 minutes and 45 seconds for the Progress 79 to separate from the third stage of the Soyuz booster and be put into its preliminary orbit, where a series of pre-programmed engine firings over the next 2 days will raise its orbit to match that of the International Space Station before it begins automated rendezvous operations on Friday evening to reach the International Outpost for its automated docking. At the time of launch this evening, the International Space Station will be flying 258 miles over the South Atlantic. Again, the crew on board the station, the 7 crew members, they are asleep at this hour as we prepare for liftoff and an 8-minute 45-second ride for the Progress 79 into its preliminary orbit. The timeline for tonight's launch, very typical for that of a Soyuz booster. It will take a minute 58 seconds until first stage separation. The first stage will separate, followed about a minute later by the jettisoning of the launch shroud that encompasses the Progress at the very top of the stack. You're looking at it right now. Second stage shutdown and separation will occur just over 4.5 minutes after launch, followed by the jettisoning of the third stage skirt that will enable the third stage engine to ignite and continue the rise to its preliminary orbit for the Progress 79. Third stage shutdown and orbital insertion comes at the 8-minute 45-second mark, followed just seconds later by third stage separation, and then the activation of the pre-programmed commands to deploy the solar arrays on the Progress 79, along with its rendezvous antennas and navigational antennas. We're 7 minutes, 40 seconds now from launch. Everything continues to tick backwards in good fashion at the Baikonur Cosmodrome. The countdown soon to move into its automated phase. That will include the purging of nitrogen from the first stage engines, the propellant drain back to make sure that the first stage of the Soyuz booster has the correct amount of propellant for its first 2 minutes of flight. Booster propellant tank pressurization will follow, and the ground propellant feed will be terminated. Again, the Progress for this particular launch will be on a longer rendezvous profile simply because of the launch date that was selected and the orbital mechanics involved. This will be a 2-day rendezvous with docking scheduled on Friday night at 8:34 p.m. Central Time, 9:34 p.m. Eastern Time, and we will be on the air for rendezvous and docking on Friday evening. Five and a half minutes until launch. The countdown proceeding on track. Once the Progress arrives in the vicinity of the International Space Station on Friday night, the Russian cosmonauts on board the International Space Station, Pyotr Dubrov and Anton Shkaplerov, will be inside the Zvezda service module at a control panel called the Toru system, the telerobotically operated rendezvous system. They'll be prepared to operate a joystick in the unlikely event a problem would occur with the core's automated rendezvous system. And as we speak, the fuel lines and other elements of the booster's engines are being purged with nitrogen. This enables them to be fireproofed by removing any vapors of fuel and oxidizer. T-minus 4 minutes, 30 seconds and counting. Once the Progress arrives at its preliminary orbit, there'll be a couple of critical burns of the Progress's engines later tonight. Those are known as DV burns, delta velocity, basically a change in velocity burns. The first automated maneuvers that will raise the Progress's orbit to match that, ultimately, of the International Space Station. Coming up on the 3-minute mark until launch. Once we hit the 3-minute mark, propellant drain back will begin. It is 4:57 a.m. Baikonur time on Thursday morning at the launch site, some 2.5 hours before sunrise. Propellant drain back underway. Again, the weather is pristine tonight for a launch at Baikonur. Clear skies, temperatures around 24 degrees Fahrenheit. As we come up on the 2-minute mark. The first stage is being pressurized for flight, optimizing the flow of fuel, helping to add structural support to the rocket. At about the T-minus 30-second mark, the first of 2 servicing umbilicals will retract from the booster, followed about 15 seconds later by the retraction of the second umbilical that will initiate the auto sequence start for engine ignition. One minute, 30 seconds. Progress now on internal power. And the Soyuz booster about to go on internal power as we hit the 1-minute mark until launch. T-minus 45 seconds. And we have the separation of the first of the 2 umbilicals. T-minus 20 seconds and counting. The auto sequence has been initiated. Second umbilical retracted. We have a command for engine sequence start. We have engine ignition, turbo pumps building up to flight speed. And liftoff. Liftoff of Progress 79, the next vehicle in the supply chain to the International Space Station. Good roll, pitch, and yaw program reported from Baikonur. First stage performance reported to be nominal from the blockhouse in Baikonur. Good vehicle stabilization reported. Good chamber pressure reported on the first stage. 1 minute into the flight. Passing through maximum dynamic pressure on the vehicle. Flight is reported to be going by the book. One minute, 40 seconds into the flight, everything continuing to go very well. The Soyuz booster arcing out to the northeast to an orbit inclined 51.6 degrees to either side of the equator. Standing by for first stage separation. And first stage separation confirmed. The boosters falling away from the Soyuz. The vehicle is now flying on second stage engines. 2 minutes, 25 seconds into the flight. The Soyuz booster traveling almost 5,000 miles an hour, 40 miles in altitude, 51 miles downrange from the Baikonur Cosmodrome. All parameters reported to be nominal from the blockhouse in Baikonur as we approach the 3-minute mark into the flight. Three minutes, 15 seconds into the flight. 5.5 minutes of powered flight remaining. About 1 minute, 15 seconds remaining on second stage performance. All of the rocket systems reported to be in great shape from the launch controllers in Baikonur. The vehicle reported to be rock steady and stable at the 4-minute mark. Second stage engine performance continues to be right down the middle. The vehicle traveling almost 7,500 miles an hour. Standing by for second stage shutdown. 4 minutes 40 seconds in. 4 minutes of powered flight remaining. And we have second stage shutdown and separation. Five minutes 15 seconds into the flight. The vehicle reported to be stable. Three minutes 15 seconds of powered flight remaining. Everything is looking very good. Good third stage engine performance reported. Good control on the vehicle. Everything very, very good. Coming up on the 6-minute mark into the flight. Third stage engine performance continues to be very solid, propelling the Progress 79 cargo craft into its preliminary orbit. We are about 2 minutes and 15 seconds from third stage shutdown and orbital insertion. Six minutes, 45 seconds into the flight, 2 minutes of powered flight remaining. This view from a balcony camera in the Russian Mission Control Center outside of Moscow on the center screen. You're looking at a view from a camera on the upper stage of the Soyuz booster. As we approach the 7.5 minute mark into the flight, third stage engine performance continues to be right down the middle. One minute of powered flight remaining. Good third stage engine performance reported from the blockhouse in Baikonur. Now we have a full screen view of the camera from the upper stage of the Soyuz booster with about 30 seconds of powered flight remaining. Eight and a half minutes into the flight. Coming up on third stage shutdown and spacecraft separation. Third stage shutdown and third stage separation. Next step will be the deployment of the solar arrays and the navigational antennas on the Progress 79. That should be just a moment or two from now. And there go the arrays. And the data from the Russian Mission Control Center confirms good solar array deploy and good navigational antenna deploy. Progress 79, after a flawless launch and climb to orbit, on its way toward a Friday night docking at the International Space Station. And the first view from an external camera on the Progress 79. This is the same data screen that you're familiar with, that we will be watching parameters of the distance to the International Space Station and rate of closure when automated rendezvous operations begin on Friday evening. Once again, a perfect launch from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan, launch occurring at 7 p.m. and 32 seconds Central Time, 8 p.m. and 32 seconds Eastern Time. It was just after 5 a.m. at the Baikonur Cosmodrome on Thursday morning. The 8.5-minute climb to orbit was uneventful. The Progress now on its way to the International Space Station in its preliminary orbit. And as the Progress orients itself for the first phase of its free flight to the International Space Station, again, a series of pre-programmed engine firings will take place over the course of the next 2 days to bring the Progress into the neighborhood of the International Space Station for its automated docking on Friday night. With that, a couple of programming notes. Our rendezvous and docking coverage on Friday will begin at 7:45 p.m. Central, 8:45 p.m. Eastern Time, leading to a docking at 8:34 p.m. Central, 9:34 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday night. The Progress's port of call will be the aft port of the Zvezda service module. And then on Saturday night, you'll want to join us, Saturday night, October 30th, heading into the witching hour on Halloween for NASA's SpaceX Crew 3 launch from Launch Pad 39A at the Kennedy Space Center. Our launch coverage begins on Saturday night at 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, with the launch scheduled on Sunday morning, October 31st, at 1:21 and 6 seconds a.m. Central, 2:21 and 6 seconds a.m. Eastern Time. But for now, the first phase of multiple launch activity around the International Space Station has been successfully completed, with the launch tonight of the Progress 79 cargo craft to deliver almost 3 tons of food, fuel, and supplies to the Expedition 66 crew on the International Space Station. We'll see you back here on Friday night for our rendezvous and docking coverage for Progress 79. In the meantime, have a good evening. This is Mission Control Houston.